For 5,000 years of civilization, nothing changed until one day in April 1775, a handful of Americans in this country, 71 Americans and a 12-year-old drummer boy at Concord Bridge in Massachusetts, took on a whole goddamn British regiment. 650 people, armed, bayonets fixed, and the the British commander said, "All right, lay down your arms and disperse, ye rebels." And the Americans said, "Go screw yourself." For the first time, somebody stood up to the biggest superpower of the world at that day, the British Empire, and said, "Go to hell." And the next year, they wrote down on a piece of paper in 1776, "We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to ensure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men. The only reason that governments exist is to ensure the rights of the people." From that moment forward, you, the American military, were born. And the only thing that has stood between the dictatorship of people who think that we are wrong and freedom is the American military. There is no way that any country can exist without a powerful military. And a powerful military is not only who has the most guns, who has the most tanks, but it's what's in the heart of the individual soldier. The man who digs a hole in the ground and says, "I don't give a crap what you people throw at me, you're not getting past me. And when the sergeant blows the whistle, I'm going to come out of here with a bayonet on the end of my rifle, and I'm going to stick it up your nose." For the first 6 days in Bastogne, the Germans had military superiority, 5-6 to 1 in terms of strength. The Luftwaffe was bombing us every night. The damn artillery was pounding us day and night. But the American military guys there said, "No, you're not getting into this damn town." I cannot tell you what it cost, over 50% casualties, but the guys that held out there were saying to the world, "No, no dictatorship is going to take over this world. Freedom-loving people is going to take over this world." And from there on in, folks, it's the American military that has stood between tyranny in the world and freedom in the world. You people now, you young people, have a terrible responsibility. You've got to see to it that that spirit which says, "No, freedom is the way to go, no dictatorship is going to take over this world," and we are willing to stand up and pay the goddamn price. I saw the picture I have in my mind whenever I go back to Bastogne is a snow-covered field. We were 19, 20-year-old kids. The Germans threw every goddamn thing they had at us. And when the battle was over, they didn't get any place, but you should have seen the battlefield strewn with bodies and pieces of bodies of guys who said, "No, you're not getting into this goddamn town." Had the Germans been able to take Bastogne, they would have gone on to Antwerp, which was our port of entry at that time. They would have split the American armies from the British and Canadian armies in the north, and the whole damn wall could have turned around. But because a handful of Americans who in their hearts said, it's not going to happen, is what changed the picture. They didn't get into Bastogne, they never got to Antwerp, and the war changed. The Germans turned around, they had to retreat back to Germany, and it was just a matter of days before we destroyed the goddamn German army. Folks, I know I get emotional at these points, but when you see your buddies all over the damn field, in pieces sometimes, you say to yourself, well, they knew what was coming, they knew why they were there, they knew what they were doing, and they were the ones who decided the outcome of the battle. Today, unfortunately, I don't mean to get political tonight, but you know damn well what's been going on in our country, and you know damn well what needs to be fixed. The American military needs to be built up to its finest peak strength and be able to say to the world, hey, dictatorship is not the way of the future. Freedom and democracy is. And freedom and democracy for the people of the world depends upon the United States of America. And it's you guys, you young people, who are going to have to keep that dream alive. We said, you know what? We are willing to pay the price to remain free Americans. It's cost, but we're willing to pay the price. And if we are willing to pay the price, the world has hope. You know, at one point in 1943, before we got into it, it looked like the dictators were going to take over. I personally, when I got to Hitler's Eagle's Nest, saw a map on the wall in 3 colors, brown, red, and green. Brown was Germany, red was the Japanese, green was the Italian dictatorship, and they had the world already divided up. They knew what they were going to do. Germany was to get all of the United States and Canada up to the West Coast. The Japanese wanted the West Coast and California. Germany was going to get all of Europe, the Ukraine, part of Russia. The Japanese were to get all of China and all of the rest of Southeast Asia. And they had the world already divided up as to how they were going to run it. The only thing that stood between them and that stupid dream was the American military. And my friends, don't ever forget that you are the American military, and it's up to you to make sure that the American military stands between tyranny and democracy. And thank you.